Outstanding. Thank you, Kelly, and good morning. It's great to be back in Singapore. I lead our global specialty sales business, and I'm incredibly excited to spend the next 20 minutes or so going from the why to a bit of the how, and providing context on how our vision and our technology, combined with your ideas, create this future go-forward strategy on how we leverage AI for good in all of our businesses. You know, this Gen AI and AI in general is unlike anything we've really ever seen before. It's arguably one of the biggest transformation agendas we've seen in a generation. And you can look almost to every industry on how it's reimagining education. It's disrupting industries, transforming businesses. You know, AI really is a bit of a revolution. And as I travel the world and meet with lots of different customers, what's possible here is really astounding. I meet with engineering organizations who have the ability to write code 20 times faster, and the impact that has on product development life cycles and innovation for those organizations, including Dell internal IT and our own journey. I know I spend time with lots of organizations that have large workforces, like many of you, who are looking at how a digital assistant or virtual coworker can make things simpler and easier and better, allowing all of us to be more productive in our day. You know, coming from a sales and go-to-market lens, personally, and with many customers that have sales and go-to-market functions, I think about how autonomous selling and intelligent pricing can begin to redefine customer engagement and how all of us in various industries engage with our end users. And of course, we've got great plethora of manufacturing examples who are looking at how AI can redefine intelligent supply chain and intelligent replenishment, allowing them to improve yields and drive better outcomes. You know, this world is real, and it's right in front of us. But it's up to us to harness all of this potential to really turn these concepts into outcomes and ideas into reality. And you know, this concept of human ingenuity paired with powerful technology like AI creates this limitless future for all of us. And I'm excited to sort of explore those possibilities together and to really build a blueprint that all of us can follow. You know, as Michael opened, we celebrated our 40th year as a company. And over those 40 years, we've been committed to taking what arguably has been really complicated technology and making it simple for the world to consume, and to consume in a way that drives human progress. You know, that innovation is foundational to our DNA. And it's a legacy that we at Dell are incredibly proud of. It got us to where we are, and it's really prepared us for where we will go together in this generative AI future. You know, this really is a rocket ship, and our strategy here is crystal clear. We want to accelerate the adoption of AI for all of you. And the why is pretty fundamental. The organizations that can more quickly and efficiently implement AI are ultimately going to separate the winners from the losers in the AI era. And we are all speeding toward this AI future where this is no longer a choice. This is a business. This is a cultural. This is a world imperative on how we accelerate this joint path to success. And if we really think about how we've internalized the journey, we've tried to simplify this into 5 steps. You know, the first is that data is at the center of arguably anything and everything we do. It provides new insights, it boosts productivity, it fosters innovation. All of that is probably no surprise. But what may be surprising is that 83% of the world's data is not in some virtual data center up in the clouds. It's on-prem. It's in the real world. And 50% of the new data created is not going to be created in these clouds or existing data centers. It's going to be created out in the real world, at the edge. So this data landscape is going to continue to be broadly distributed, which really brings us to the second point, which is you could spend a lifetime trying to aggregate all of the information into a common place. We do not think that will be the foundational reality. It's actually the inverse. It's being able to bring the AI to the data, being able to power the information where it lives with incredible AI capability. We know that this will limit latency. We know it'll lower cost. And we know it'll actually help improve security. If we think about the third piece of this is that AI is going to come in a lot of different forms. We talked about AI PCs, and maybe a simple example. We know some of the massive hyperscale data centers that may be more intricate examples. This is going to be about right-sizing AI to your business, your use case, and your solution, because it will come in all different forms. Foundational to that will be an open ecosystem. This world is moving way too fast to build to a closed standard. We have to build to a modular and open standard that allows us to be flexible and lean into the rapid innovation. What we've seen in the last couple years is just the start. The speed of innovation is going to accelerate even faster, and that open standard will be foundational to how we build these strategies. And with that open standard is the fifth and final point in the journey here, which is it has to be an ecosystem. There's not one company that will solve AI from end to end for every company of every shape and size. It will be a broad network. And that broad ecosystem is something that we have gotten pretty good at over the last 40 years. We've fostered these open ecosystems to build choice for our customers. And we're leaning in on this even more in the AI era. And you think about those partners, there's some obvious examples like NVIDIA and Intel and Microsoft, and there's also some emerging ones that we'll talk about as we get into the presentation today. But these validated solutions with the ecosystem partners will be foundational in simplifying this AI journey. And as a backdrop, arguably a foundation, we need to build these with sustainability and with security in mind. These aren't options. These are business imperatives. And they have to be critical design principles that are considered from the beginning. It's very difficult to do these after the fact. They have to be part of the foundational planning. And these core beliefs are really foundational to our strategy and to how we see AI becoming real. But before we move into the future, let's actually take a moment to step back in time. Kind of close your eyes for a minute and take yourself back to the Industrial Revolution, where we had these bustling factories. We had raw materials coming in the front door, and we had tangible goods coming out the back door. They had production lines, and these factories used innovative machines of that era to move society forward at that time. Fast forward to today. AI doesn't have smokestacks and assembly lines like the Industrial Revolution, but rather data centers and algorithms. And these factories are not harnessing physical resources, but digital ones. They're taking data and creating knowledge. They're building insights and content that ultimately fuel extraordinary possibilities. But the analogy and connection is eerily consistent to what moved the world forward almost 100 years ago will be foundational to moving our world forward 100 years later. But there's a catch here. The catch is that turning all of this data into incredible insights that fuel your organization isn't just about throwing new hardware or writing a little bit of new code. No, these data sets are enormous. And the compute power required is incredible. And that starts from the data center and the PC all the way into compute and storage constructs. And these workloads require what will be a vastly different architecture than the IT topologies that we've deployed up until this point. And every layer of the stack will have to be optimized to take advantage of the AI potential. It's also going to actually challenge us to think about where data is acted upon. And in some recent surveys, 83% of enterprise CIOs have actually planned to repatriate workloads back from the public cloud. This is driven actually for inferencing and data gravity, and that concept of data being fundamental and bringing AI to the data will rethink where it goes. But it's not just inferencing and data gravity that's driving this. There's economics at play as well. You know, we've actually got proven examples here where inferencing in large language models can be 75% more cost-effective on-prem than in a public cloud. But these traditional IT infrastructures and traditional operating models really are not enough. Organizations need to build an AI foundation or sadly risk obsolescence, because those that do will succeed and lap the ones that do not. And this really is where the Dell AI factory comes to play. It's the blueprint of how we help customers to make this real, to accelerate this AI innovation in all sizes. This is the modern day factory floor in my Industrial Revolution analogy. It's taking the input of data on the left and the output are the use cases powered by the factory. It's taking AI optimized infrastructure, that open ecosystem, and services expertise to make this real and build these outcomes more rapidly. There probably isn't a single AI easy button, but this might be as close as we get to a single AI easy button, taking GPU, fabric, storage, and devices with your models and your data to drive these outcomes and use cases for your business. So I keep saying use cases. Let me start with a couple of those, because I think most organizations ultimately are looking for what are those use cases that they begin their journey on. And Dell can really help you identify and prioritize some of these use cases. You know, across the thousands of customers that we're engaging with, there seems to be some key themes and some key trends around use cases. They might not be perfect for your business, but they're interesting places to start. The first is around content creation. So think about leveraging all of the proprietary information in your data sets today. That is the gold that uniquely defines who you are and what you build as a business. And all of that information can be inferenced to build technical documentation, to build new market analysis, to create marketing content, whether it's technical white papers or blogs, to the PowerPoints and engaging environment that we leverage with our customers every day. Content creation is a way that we can accelerate time and speed to market. Let me kind of shift from more go-to-market, marketing, sales example to an engineering example on code generation, which I mentioned at the beginning. This is really about having developers, right, engage in natural language to help write the code faster, document the code in real time, learn from what worked and what didn't, and allows that developer to focus on more complex and intricate tasks and not the actual code creation itself. Kind of a fun thing within Dell Technologies, we've got roughly 85% of our developers already leveraging code generation and AI, and we see this use case across many businesses for how to speed time to market and product development. Digital assistants is another great example. Whether we're using these digital assistants to engage with customers and end users, or in many cases engaging with our own employees, whether that's internal IT services or HR services or internal employee communications, the digital assistant use case is actually broad, both internal and external. It's all about creating more personalized guidance, training, and support, and being able to do this in countless languages that make the individual who's engaged with that digital assistant feel more local to their language, their experience. Digital twins is another one I hear a lot, which is really about creating a digital version of reality. That's the digital twin part of it. But this is to create simulations and testings and what-ifs or if-then type analyses that create valuable insights that speed development. How much easier is it to do it in a virtual world than to go build in a physical world? And what can we learn in a digital world before we go and implement it in a physical world? Those are some of the great examples of real-time digital twins. And then lastly, you know, computer vision's been around for a while, but computer vision is incredibly redefined with the AI horsepower, where we're literally watching things come off assembly line in microseconds and being able to identify little tweaks in the process that can massively improve the yield, reduce the cost, improve the productivity. This is all about taking whether it's medical image or manufacturing process and making them better outcomes through a computer vision use case. So look, the AI factory is capable of helping build any one of these, and probably countless others in partnership with your business, your ideas, and the outcomes that you are looking to drive. But man, this has got to start somewhere. It's got to be fueled by something. The AI factory needs a raw material, and that raw material, that fuel, is the data. And if you think about this to how we powered those steam engines in the last industrial revolution, it was coal, in many cases, that fueled those machines. Data is the fuel for these machines. And it is arguably the most valuable resource that we all have, and it will define the success of these AI journeys. It's actually pretty simple. Good data, good AI. Bad data, bad AI. So we got to start with good data at the foundation. Now the problem here is that the data is everywhere. It's in the cloud, it's on-prem, it's at the edge, and that dispersion of information is not going to slow down. It's actually only going to accelerate and increase. So we've got to build a model that moves the AI closer to the data, which was my second point, to lower the latency, to reduce the cost, and to maintain security of the information. And to put that sensitive data in a controlled environment. Because if it's good data, it's your data. And if it's your data, I want that to be highly secured and controlled and not accessible to my competitors or other outside influences that could use that information in ways that I don't intend or don't want. Now, we got to prepare that information to be used in the factory because the quality and the accuracy of this data is foundational to getting those good outcomes, while we also ease the access and the governance. You know, with a partner like Dell, who controls a lot of the world's information today and has great experience and insights into how we protect this, how we build the robust pipelines, and how we secure this information, is a foundational starting point that then feeds these hungry algorithms in GPU. So it's actually a great transition. Let's spend a minute talking about that modern machinery, right? The muscle of the AI factory, which is this AI-optimized infrastructure. And there's a lot of it. It's devices, it's compute, it's storage, it's network. And there are many point product companies that may do one of these things, but there are very few that do all of these things. Dell is uniquely positioned with an end-to-end portfolio, from device to compute to network to storage, with the services and expertise to put these things together. And this foundation is also evolving, where we're seeing these models get smaller. They're also getting more specialized. And the AI factory's got to scale from, of course, the data center, but all the way down to the device. And it's got to scale from the cloud or the giant on-prem environment out to a very small model at the edge. And no matter where it's deployed, most customers are looking for full-stack, end-to-end validated outcomes. And they want those outcomes to run on best-of-breed technology. Nobody wants to run the number 2, number 5, and number 7 of anything. With Dell's portfolio of a number 1 in almost each of these categories all in one place, we're uniquely positioned to bring these things together. And speaking of best-of-breed technologies, let's highlight a couple. These are the foundational elements in the AI factory. Let's start with that bedrock of data and information. It starts with a software-defined PowerScale, which is built with AI in mind. PowerScale is essential to managing this massive collection of unstructured data that feeds these foundational models. In the PowerScale F910 example, we actually now have the first Ethernet-certified SuperPod with NVIDIA. This is the densest high-performance file solution on the market, packing over 1.5 petabytes in just a 2U form factor. And from a performance perspective, it's driving incredible speed from the GPU to the AI platform with GPU Direct technology. So think high-speed streaming, think read-write performance, all with the right flexibility to accelerate these AI pipelines while ingesting at scale. So that becomes sort of the foundation. Now let's kind of move northbound to the heart of the AI factory, which is, in this example, the Dell PowerEdge XC9680. This is the flagship server in the market, and it's our fastest growing server in the PowerEdge lineup since we introduced the brand back in the late 90s. Generative AI on the XC9680 is being leveraged to train some of the world's largest models or inference with many, many, many users. It takes 8 GPU in a single node with 4 terabytes per second of GPU throughput and 50% more GPU direct storage access during that data ingest and writing. This is the highest compute platform in the industry for AI. And it's actually built with silicon diversity in mind, with NVIDIA GPU as well as AMD and Intel, but in a consistent rack-level design. This will be the heartbeat of the AI factory. And we're not going to stand still here either. The market is moving incredibly quickly, and we've introduced the newest edition, the XE9680L, where the L stands for direct liquid cooling. And this will actually redefine, once again, the boundaries of performance. In a 4U form factor, this is one of the highest density x86 servers in the world, leveraging the 8-way NVIDIA Blackwell 200 GPU. Now, I've got storage and I've got servers, but I got to connect it. Got to connect it through lightning-fast networks. Think about networking differently in this case. Think about networking in GPU to GPU and also server to storage. With this massive amount of data and incredibly powerful compute, networking is foundational. And the existing networking topologies are really pushed to the brink, and we have to rethink how we do networking in a generative AI example. And we are going to lead the industry here, partnering both with NVIDIA and with Broadcom. From an NVIDIA perspective, we're going to bring InfiniBand and Spectrum X solutions to market. We're going to build both NICs and DPUs for Ethernet and InfiniBand at 400 and 800 gig backplanes. We're also working very closely with Broadcom to create an open Ethernet standard. This is our Dell Power Switch, and it's leveraging Broadcom's latest Tomahawk 5 chipset. This is doubling networking performance for AI apps. It's these high-speed fabrics with AI compute and AI storage with your models and your data that begin to drive the outcomes for taking that data into insights. But look, not all models are going to be enormous with massive CPU and storage and network backplanes. It's going to be a lot of them that are probably pretty small. Actually, we think the majority of these models will probably not run in a data center, but they'll run out at the edge, and these models will be small language models. And you can kind of think through a bunch of different examples here, but like inferencing out at the edge would be one. Maybe personalization or an AI assistant might be another. They need to be fast, they need to be on device, and they're going to be everywhere. So the way we thought about PCs fundamentally now changes, where they are an essential computing engine for inferencing at the edge, as well as driving the digital workplace that we know and love the PC use case to date. But imagine bringing a large language model, or increasingly a small language model, directly to the PC and being able to run it on the PC. Like, that's a pretty big deal. But the PC constructs are being pushed. We're driving not only CPU and GPU, but NPU, as you heard in the earlier session. And we're driving this deep into every corner of our portfolio, from our gaming PCs to our business PCs to our industry-leading workstations. This is all about helping you drive tasks faster, with more immediate search results, with extended battery life, and we heard from Chris earlier on the example of AI PCs in his environment. But this PC evolution actually drives via joint innovation with our ecosystem partners, an ecosystem partner like Microsoft. And I'll tell you, I have never seen our ISV, that software ecosystem, buzzing as intensely as it is right now. You know, back in May at Dell Technologies World, we announced the broadest lineup of Copilot+ PCs we've ever announced, all powered by Qualcomm Snapdragon X processor. This will actually create a new category of device in PCs, and you will see this across our entire PC lineup, and you will see it with silicon diversity built in as well. This will transform how work gets done. And soon we believe everybody will have an AI PC. But wow, we got servers and network and storage and PCs all foundational to this. Like, how do we make it simpler for you to consume? How do we make it simpler for you to have access to all of this information? This is through our industry-leading subscription model, Dell Apex, which allows you to subscribe to all of this innovation across our entire portfolio, giving you flexible, pay-as-you-go terms to only use what is consumed. This helps you avoid these massive upfront capital investments and allows you to preserve that investment to fund the underlying AI initiative and projects itself. This is all about taking the flexibility of this portfolio to meet you where you are in your journey. From the cloud to the data center, from the workstation to the PC, out to the edge, and everywhere in between, this needs to scale to meet you where you are. You know, this is sort of a fun example that brings it to life. You know, let's start with like a mobile example where I might be on a precision workstation running a training model that's maybe using Llama 3 from Meta to train an 8 billion parameter mid to large language model. And let's scale it up. Maybe now it's a RAG solution on a PowerEdge R760 XA server. And maybe this is out at a warehouse. And in that warehouse, we're doing something like quality control data or inventory management. You know, now let's actually get into the data center where we're on one of those XC9680s and we're doing inferencing on a single one of these high-performance servers. But let's say the example grows and now I need multiple 72 GPUs in a single rack XC9680s that can maybe then scale to thousands of racks, but all acting as one cognitive computer. Again, this is not one size fits all. It's tailor-made. It's tailor-made just for you and your use cases. But a big part of this will be the ecosystem collaboration, where not one company is going to meet all of these needs. And as we opened with, we have a history of championing an open ecosystem, and we're leading the way on AI. This is all about making sure it works. At the end of the day, you want an outcome that works, and it needs to work with that ecosystem of partners. And we're teaming up with some of the industry's finest, including, of course, Intel, NVIDIA, and Microsoft. But maybe one that you may not expect me to highlight is some of the cool stuff we're doing with Hugging Face. So if you don't know Hugging Face, these guys build the open source AI models and libraries. They help AI builders build these AI models. We partner together to build the Dell Enterprise Hub with Hugging Face that allows these developers to go in and securely access these open source models to deploy on-prem. I think Meta was another example I mentioned, and we're working very closely with them to leverage their Llama 3 technology, amazing innovation rate that they've had from Llama 1 to Llama 2 to Llama 3. We're making that accessible in real time on our infrastructure, bringing that to life as a validated outcome. These partnerships put Dell at the center of this diverse ecosystem for you to leverage for the outcomes that drive your business. We spent a lot of time talking about tech and partnerships, but man, let's talk about people for a minute, because at the end of the day, they're the ones that help make this real. And like any physical factory, an effective AI factory needs a skilled team. But I'll be honest, as I meet with lots of customers in lots of different places, this skill set is in pretty short supply. Some customers are confused with where to start, and in many cases, maybe it's more complicated than they once thought. Maybe they're having a challenge in accessing the relevant and accurate information to begin, or they're concerned with privacy or data security. Professional services from Dell Technology will be an incredibly beneficial step and an important step in this AI factory. We've actually built some incredibly deep expertise that you may not be aware of. We actually have services capability to help you build strategy, to prepare the data, to implement the actual platforms, to optimize the use cases for your business, and to tweak them so they deliver peak efficiency. I was actually in New York just a couple weeks ago with a big global bank that was struggling to identify from 200 use cases what were going to be their high-impact ones. In about a 6-week engagement, we helped that global bank narrow it down to the 5 high-impact use cases that they could implement within a 6-month time frame to see meaningful progress at the board with their AI initiatives and agenda. I was in actually London a few weeks prior to that, where we met with some large health agencies that really were struggling with data prep and some of the patient information security sensitivity there, and trying to align what data sets are foundational to the AI outcomes that they're trying to drive. That was an engagement we helped them clarify to move faster in the data prep stage. It's actually with a large retail customer recently that was trying to figure out how they redefine much of their engagement strategy with that AI assistant, in this case, Microsoft Copilot, helping them tune that use case to their outcomes from a services-led approach. And then with really supporting and managing lots of AI factories, there's some really, really cool automotive companies right now that are pushing the limits of AI in amazing ways. And they're looking to us to how to scale those factories at rates that I've never seen in my 20-plus years in the industry. We are playing a foundational role at helping them scale, optimize, and deliver on their incredibly ambitious AI roadmap and agenda. So from strategy formulation to implementation to tuning and outcomes, we're here to help. We're here to help with a level of depth and expertise that spans multiple geographies and multiple industries. But where I'll kind of close is that this outcome goes back to those use cases I started with. It goes back to that physical factory, in this case our AI factory, making those use cases fast and repeatable in simple, secure, and economical way. Now there really is no single easy button, but hopefully we've kind of illustrated how this gets about as close as you can to an AI easy button. The pinnacle example that I'll highlight here is our partnership with NVIDIA. We have many of our NVIDIA counterparts in the audience today, some that I work with from a global perspective, and we've enjoyed a 25-year-plus history with NVIDIA. And man, I don't think I've seen anything quite as exciting as what we're building with them right now. We have built the first comprehensive end-to-end enterprise AI solution. So this, of course, takes the things we've already talked about, like the client devices and the servers and the network from Dell, but it pairs it with NVIDIA's incredibly unique accelerators, but more importantly, their software and services and enterprise capability that bring this end-to-end stack to life. It enables you to build across a broad set of use cases, but the one that seems to be very present early is a branded offer, which is our Dell Generative AI solutions for digital assistants. And I want to walk through a real-world example of actual customers putting this Dell AI factory with NVIDIA to use. Had to go with a hometown example here. Dell being a Texas-based company, we'll use a Texas-based public sector example. This is the city of Amarillo. And for those of you that don't know Amarillo, Texas, it's a mid-sized city in Texas, but it has an incredibly diverse population. In fact, they speak over 60 languages in the city of Amarillo, and about a quarter of their citizens don't even speak English. And the challenge that they had engaging with these citizens was they couldn't get city services in a timely fashion, and they wanted to build a model where every citizen, regardless of language, could feel, hear, and see and engage with the city in a way that felt familiar to them. And in partnership with NVIDIA, we've actually built the first digital human leveraged by a city. Her name, yes, she has a name, was Emma, is Emma. And Emma is a multilingual. See, it's kind of funny. I struggle with how to define the pronoun for an AI machine. She, yes, she is an AI element in a multilingual digital assistant that's being used by the city to drive engagement. I'm actually not going to spend a whole lot more time because I'll close with a short video where you can actually see Emma and experience it in the real scenario we're sitting at here. I'll give you a second example. I was at our briefing center in Round Rock, and Northwestern Medicine, which is a premier medical institution in the Chicago area in the US, came in with a very awesome problem, right, that they wanted us to help them solve. You know, in healthcare, they really struggled with shifting from being reactive to being proactive. It was about seeing a disease state before it became acute, before that issue became so difficult to treat. How could they see these issues months or years before and institute a path of care that delivered the patient to a better outcome? That was their challenge statement, and the answer was partnering with our AI factory, powered with NVIDIA, on 4 Dell PowerEdge XE9680s, each equipped with the 8 NVIDIA H100 GPUs. And this is their quote. They deployed it on-prem because it was faster, it was easier, and it was cheaper than doing it in the cloud. This is up, running, live. Their radiologists are now seeing a 40% productivity improvement for those radiologists examining chest x-rays to come to those conclusions faster. I mean, when I think about our mission of driving human progress, this one certainly sort of hits to the core of creating better outcomes for society. And maybe an in-region example is Samsung and some of the exciting stuff that they're doing in an end-to-end initiative that they call hyper-automation. And in their hyper-automation example, they're leveraging large language models to build new use cases. In this case, partnering with us on the XE9680 with NVIDIA GPUs, they've launched 2 new ones. The first was a platform as a service that connected internal IT to the business line users to deploy IT services in natural language faster. I'll talk about democratizing the access to technology. What an awesome real-world example that Samsung has built within their IT organization. And the second is how they're leveraging Copilot to streamline a myriad of business use cases. They built these on-prem. Why? Because it leverages a lot of their proprietary IP, a lot of the intellectual property that makes them a premier manufacturer and supplier in the market, to protect that data and make AI real for their business use cases and outcomes. So as I wrap up and I pull this together, I hope it's become clear that Dell is the strategic partner to work with in your AI initiatives. This is our AI blueprint, a plan that gets us from point A to point B. At its core, it really aims to simplify AI for all of us, for the developers, the data scientists, and the IT teams that need to engage with the AI every day. Second, it delivers it more securely, protecting your intellectual property in a sustainable and secure way where you have control over the outcomes. And it does it in a way that lowers your total cost and investment by right-sizing AI to the use case, and in many cases, far more productive and economical than deploying it in a public cloud alone. So whether you're sitting in the room here as an early stage startup or a large global organization, and wherever you are at your journey, from having started to already on the path, we look forward to working together to see what we can create together when we take our AI factory and your data and use cases to power those amazing outcomes. Thank you for your time this morning. Let's roll the video on the city of Amarillo.
Amarillo is an old school Texas town. It was one of the last places settled in our country. We had a flooding event this summer, massive flood problems, and we really struggled with driving messaging out to our entire community on where to go, how to get assistance.
Their key pain point was they've got lots of services that they offer. Their community is diverse.
We have one middle school with 62 languages and dialects. About 24% of our population, they don't speak English at home. It's not their primary language. How do you bridge that communication gap and build relations with those communities?
And so what they were trying to do is remove the friction in people accessing services and accessing information.
And that's what really drove us toward looking to solutions and drive engagement with our residents. And Dell really showed up for us. It was easy for me when I reached out to them and said, hey, I have this crazy vision for generative AI.
That was an incredibly brave thing to do. It's a very new space.
Dell brings that full stack to us, brings the relationships, brings the visibility into where this is going, and often is adding to our roadmap things that we hadn't thought about yet, because they're seeing things that we just haven't seen yet.
And what we did is we actually took them through some of the other options, for example, using a digital human with a large language model instead of just a chatbot, and how that could actually really accelerate people's consumption of services.
Hello, I'm Emma. I'm the City of Amarillo's first digital human built on generative AI.
That was transformative for me. Now there's one place to get that information that will not only give you answers in your own language, but take you to the support you need.
This is going to be a huge shift for all of the constituents.
Claro, para nuevos clientes, necesitarán llenar una solicitud.
Our end goal is to make sure every time a resident interfaces with the city, they see, hear, and interface with someone that looks and feels like them. We are not afraid of the future. We're embracing this wholeheartedly.